Cars is a weird universe. It's basically just the world as we know it, but replace all the humans with talking cars. I'll admit, it makes for some fantastic movies and fun world-building elements, but being so identical to our world also makes you wonder about how a lot of things even work. Like, how do kid cars exist? Do mom car and dad car have some sort of freakish car mating maneuvers? When Lightning McQueen goes into Mac's trailer, does Mac feel McQueen inside of him? Or is it more like he's wearing a backpack with someone stuffed inside? All interesting questions, and I'm sure we'll never get the answers, but that's where I come in. I'm going to get to the bottom of these mysteries. Well, maybe not the Cars intercourse thing, but I'll get to the bottom of some of these mysteries. My first question is, do cars go to prison? We know there is obviously law enforcement, as McQueen gets busted for speeding by sheriff right at the beginning of Cars 1. And if there is law enforcement, then incarceration must follow. And it does. McQueen is tossed into the Radiator Springs Municipal Impound with a parking boot slapped on his tire, which is a very creative way of making a jail and handcuffs, I might add. Now that we have the info that a jail equivalent exists, we can assume that a prison equivalent exists. But we're not going to stop there. I want some definitive proof that these naughty cars get locked up for life. Our issue is to get locked up for life, we can't have these petty speeding crimes or some hooligans blasting music. We need some real hardcore crimes. What better way to find some hardcore crimes than Cars 2? We've got murder. We've got terrorism. We've got murder. Cars 2 is the place you need to be if you're a fan of car-on-car violence. So with all this extreme criminal activity, surely we have a hint of some sort of prison. Yes, we kinda do. When Finn is talking with his informant Tumbay and Holly, he says this.
Tumbay was doing 20 to life in a Moroccan impound the first time I saved him, if I recall correctly.
There's definitive proof that cars actually go to prison. One thing I'm stuck on though is if an impound lot is jail, wouldn't there be an even more intense facility for a prison? When we have a terrible criminal and they get a life sentence, we don't send them to a jail, we put them in a much more brutal and secure facility called prison. I did some research to see if maybe this was an exclusively American thing, but there wasn't much to find unless you look to the Italian prison system, where from what I can tell they have no term for jail. There's simply a prison for people awaiting trial and a prison for those who are convicted. That would kind of back up the idea that in the world of cars, there's just impounds. It would probably just be safe to assume that some pesky delinquents would have a much more local and simple impound to stay locked up in, rather than the impound lot of terrorists like Miles and Professor Z. As a small side note, I looked into the world's largest impound lot to see what we could maybe use for reference, and all I could find was some crazy overflowing impound lot in Memphis from last year due to rampant car theft. It's quite a sight to behold, but I would presume that an actual large-scale impound inside the world of cars would look something more like a massive facility in the vein of what we have as prisons today. Just accommodated for car-sized prisoners, of course. Well, there we have it. A quick video and a definitive, yes, cars do go to prison. You can now comfortably go to sleep at night and know that that scary German terrorist car won't be outside your house waiting for you to fall asleep. If you have any deep philosophical questions pertaining to the wacky world of cars that you'd like answered, go ahead and drop them in the comments below and maybe I'll make a video out of it. Thanks for watching the video, and hey, if you enjoyed it, a like and a subscription help out a ton. Plus they're free. So long.